My selfish fiancé flipped out when I chose to be with my sister in the hospital rather than eat dinner with his family. Now, he's furious because I forced him out of my house. I got engaged to my partner Rob in May and we set up a dinner together with his family. However, my sister got a serious eye infection. She needed a corneal graft, but her surgeon was away for 4 weeks, so she was going to have to wait until he got back to have it. However, her eye didn't hold and it perforated the day I was supposed to be going to my fiancé's family meal. I texted Rob to let him know what was going on and he texted me back to send Kim his love and to remind me about the meal that night. I ignored the comment about the meal as it was the last thing on my mind. Once I got to the hospital, I was then informed that she needed to have an emergency operation to have her eye glued or else she would lose it. We were told that she would be having the operation at 5:30 p.m. I knew then that I wouldn't make the dinner and texted Rob to let him know. He flipped out and told me to leave Kim at the hospital. I told him that wasn't going to happen and that he was out of order to even ask me to do that. I then texted his mom and told her what was going on. She was supportive and told me to stay with Kim and let her know how the operation goes. A dinner can be rescheduled, but Kim's health can't. I stayed with Kim. Her operation was a success and I got her back home at about 9 p.m. With that, I didn't get home till about 11 p.m. and Rob was already asleep. Rob was very short with me for days after and we ended up having a huge fight where he told me that I should have put his brother and family before my sister. He said he was embarrassed going to the meal without me. I responded that I was embarrassed he thought I would put a meal before my sister's health. This led to another week of awkwardness between us before we finally sat down and sorted it out, or so I thought. We went out for dinner with his family. His family were all asking about how Kim was doing and I showed them a picture of the stitches in her eye. I thought that everything had gone well until we got home and he got really angry saying that I shouldn't have brought up Kim's health issues and I shouldn't have shown them the picture. I argued that they'd asked about her and asked to see the picture. It ended with him telling me that I needed to put him and his family before Kim or else we weren't going to work. His family will come before mine once we are married, so I should get used to it. I went upstairs and packed a bag. I'm now at my mom's house and he's been bombarding me with texts and calls since I left. Once I decided to end things with him, I knew that the main issue would be getting him out of my house. I own the house outright. I texted Rob and asked him to meet with me at our local pub after work. He quickly agreed. I sat down with Rob and got straight to the point. I told him that it was over. I couldn't be with someone who didn't give me any support when I was going through one of the scariest moments of my life and expected me to drop my family for his. It didn't matter what excuses he could come up with. I wasn't interested. I'd made up my mind and we were done. He stared at me in shock for what felt like an hour, but was probably only a minute or so. He then started saying I couldn't be serious. We'd been together for 7 years and I was throwing it all away. I could never find another guy like him. I responded to the last comment with, I don't want a guy like you, that's why I'm ending it. I then handed him an envelope with the eviction notice and my engagement ring. I told him I was giving him a few weeks to find a place and be out of my house. Once I got back to my mom's house, I had one single text from him saying he wasn't moving out and was going to contest the eviction until I'd come to my senses and got back with him. We are not over, was how he ended the text. In the morning I woke up and turned my phone back on and had another text from him saying that he would move out if I paid him £10,000 as that's what he'd paid towards bills. Whilst he had lived at the house, he paid for half the electric, gas, Wi-Fi, and Sky package. Let's say I was irritated by this and decided to ring his mom to see if she could talk some sense into him. She was appalled by what I told her and said she would speak to him. She called me back about an hour later and asked me to meet her at the house. Rob was on an away day to watch his football team play and wouldn't be back till about 10 p.m. so I knew he wasn't there. Sandra then asked me to walk her through the house showing her exactly what was his and what wasn't so he didn't take anything that didn't belong to him. The next morning I got a text from Rob calling me all the names under the sun for getting his mom and brother involved. I blocked him and a couple of hours later Sandra, his mom, texted me to let me know he was out and staying with her. I thanked her and she told me that she would like to stay in contact and I happily agreed to this. I went back to my house after work on Monday, changed the alarm code and my stepdad changed all the locks for me. Update: the last I heard was that his mom was kicking him out as she would not have anyone in her house who was in contact with her ex-husband and that he had tried to go live with his dad, but his dad had refused. I hadn't heard from Rob in weeks, but yesterday he showed up at my house. I had the chain on my door so opened it with that still attached. No way would I let him in. He basically told me that he had nowhere to live. His mom isn't speaking to him and his dad won't put a roof over a grown man's head. His words, not mine. He asked if I would take him back or at least let him live with me. No way in hell would I get back with him, and getting him out the first time only went easy because his mom stepped in to help. He had threatened to take me to court knowing that if he did it could take months to get him out and then said he would only move if I gave him £10,000. I contacted his mom, who was furious about that, and she turned up with his brother and forced him out. I told him that there was zero possibility of him ever living with me again and that we were 100% over. He started shouting at me and calling me all sorts of names, so I threatened to call the police if he didn't leave and shut the door. Since then he's been couch surfing, but with Christmas coming up, his friends aren't really happy with having him on their couches when they have kids and are meant to be enjoying the festive season. He's been kicked out of 3 friends' houses in 10 days.